Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Sometimes the best way to find a living is to stay right where you are and study with UAS online. Career-specific distance programs from the University of Alaska Southeast are the fastest way to increase your earning power.
We connect all over the world.
When shopping for your family's meals, do you know where you can find Alaska-grown products? Everywhere. They're available at your local grocery stores and farmers markets across the state. Alaska-grown products are fresher and more nutritious, and buying local helps grow our economy. So just look for the Alaska-grown label when you shop, or ask your grocer where the Alaska-grown products are. Remember, Alaska-grown. It's closer, fresher, better.
And it's all Alaska-grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the fire danger map, still some high fire danger here over the northern southeast coast. Had a few showers there earlier today, but nothing too widespread. And central Copper River Basin and then back up into the eastern Alaska range through this area. And a couple of areas up there from the northern upper Yukon Valley back in toward the northern Koyukuk Valley. Satellite imagery from yesterday showed pretty good weather, temperatures into the 70s and 80s here over the interior from the Copper River Basin right up to the north slope there, with some pretty good thunderstorm activity developing and extending right out to the coastline. Otherwise, kind of a mostly cloudy day with some areas of sunshine. Not too bad for the Panhandle. This system tracking across the Alaska Peninsula, main front pushing out into the Gulf of Alaska, and another trough here with that band of clouds pushing into the northwest interior. Today, that pushing eastward, kind of hanging back to the northwest there, but dropping southward, actually in toward Bristol Bay a little bit there, with kind of another convergence zone over the Kenai Peninsula up into the Sitna Valley. Some thunderstorm activity around with that, as well as breaking out again over the interior. Sunshine up over the northern upper Yukon Valley, or the upper Yukon right up into Arctic Village, and also back here along the southwest coast, Nunivak Island in the sun, and all the way over to Togiak. And then this system spreading, pushing in toward the southeast coast. Had some showers lifting northward ahead of that, and the rain just right off the coast now, the light rain, and back to the west. Clouds here with really not much of a system out there, kind of an upper level trough or weak low pressure area. Light westerly flow, fog, IFR, Pribilofs, on down into Adak and also back out toward Shemya. Wind's pretty light out there, high pressure ridging up toward the Bering Strait, again clearing it out somewhat over the Seward Peninsula, on down along the southwest coast. This trough here bringing a fair amount of rain up over the northwest interior, anywhere from 1/10 to up over ½ an inch of rain falling. Kotzebue picked up a little over 1/3 of an inch of rain, and thunderstorms breaking out, isolated actually in advance of that, just west of Anchorage here across the area there toward the mountains, and a couple of lightning strikes in the Talkeetnas. Otherwise, a more extensive area here up over the the Tanana Valley into the central interior, and again, strike all the way out toward Barrow, clearing along the North Gulf Coast, and again, not too bad over the Panhandle. Some rain right along the coastline of the Panhandle with some scattered showers up to the north. Well, tonight looks like a chance of rain, central southern Prince of Wales Island, maybe on over toward Annette and Ketchikan. But again, bulk of the moisture looks like it's staying to the south, at least for now. Otherwise, cloudy skies or variably cloudy up along the North Gulf Coast. Partly to mostly cloudy, a few scattered showers diminishing the thunderstorms over the interior. Hanging together a little bit more here back where that trough axis is along the Alaska Range up into the central interior. and also off to the east, but high pressure settling in over the western north slope, so it stays clear, mostly clear down the coastline there, also a ways inland, clearing out for Kodiak Island. Northwest winds also picking up. Gale warnings out tonight for Kamishak Bay, northwest 35 knots in the forecast. Low clouds and fog, southwest flow, west-southwesterly bringing some moisture with drizzle fog from the St. Lawrence Island area right down to the Pribilofs, and no wind, high pressure, but a lot of low clouds and fog over the Aleutian southern Bering Sea. For tomorrow, some of that moisture pushes in towards Nunivak Island, back down toward the Pribilofs once again. Another trough with more of the same weather back out to the west. Otherwise, high pressure controlling the western Aleutians, as well as the central areas there with some low clouds and fog. Look for the northeast winds to pick up a little bit, mostly south of the central Aleutians there as this system tracks eastward just to the south. Rainfall trying to make it up toward Nikolsky, but not quite making it. And again, tomorrow, a little more extensive area, some of this drifting westward, upper level trough right through this area. So easterly flow on the north side of that. So look for some thunderstorms possible. Kenai Peninsula up across Anchorage, Palmer, and back out to the northwest there. And again, over the eastern interior, all the way up to the eastern Brooks Range, mostly cloudy skies there. And scattered showers now over the southeast coast, mostly down south with partly cloudy skies. For Tuesday, not too bad, mostly cloudy, partly sunny for the Panhandle, an isolated shower or two. Clearing out along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Chance of thunderstorms again, Talkeetnas, maybe the Chugach, just an isolated shower for the Kenai Peninsula. Low pressure both at the surface and aloft, kicking off some moderate showers, Kodiak Island up along the Aleutian Range, right up along the mountains there. Thunderstorm activity a little further to the south now through the upper Tanana Valley down to the Copper River Basin. Clearing and sunnier back to the north. Also in the west here, a couple of nice days coming up out in that area with light winds and not much change out over the Bering Sea with a lot of IFR. And moving on to temperatures across the Panhandle this afternoon, upper 50s to upper 60s at 68 at Skagway, 62 over at Yakutat, kind of a range here across the Copper River Basin. McCarthy at 69, 10 degrees warmer at Gulkana, and lower 70s here. Chalitna down to Squintna, 73 in Anchorage, 73 in the Nilchik, 10 degrees cooler at Homer, 65 Seward, 60s here through the Tanana Valley. Then you get in the sunshine, 80s. That 81 at Beaver, warm spot in the state today, Chalk-Yitzhak at 82, 72 in Arctic Village, and nice 70s across the north slope there. New Exit at 70 degrees, Umi at 78, cooler along the coast, 50s here out to the west, 50s and 60s down to the southwest, McGrath Head 57, and out to the Bering Sea, lower 50s to the Pribilofs, the Aleutians, a little cooler and low clouds and fog here, both at Adak and Shimei at 48. Otherwise, Sand Point 61, 62 in Kodiak, and King Salmon at 70. Lows tonight, again, mild up here over the northeast, and about the same really, 50s all the way down to the North Gulf Coast, 40s, lower 40s up here over the northwest, 30s along the western Arctic coast, 40s for the Aleutians, Bering Sea, and lower to mid 50s for the Panhandle. Highs 60s down that way tomorrow, 60s and 70s over the interior here, up into the 50s along the Arctic coast, and 50s back out west. Flying weather, IFR, central eastern Arctic coast to start the day with tomorrow with marginal stuff down to the Brooks Range. Marginal VFR here along the Alaska Peninsula and mostly out over the Gulf, but again, some of that slipping into the southern southeast coast, and stays VFR, St. Lawrence Island, right down along the west coast to the Alaska Peninsula. Tomorrow afternoon, this edges its way eastward a little bit, but staying well off the coast. Then we pick up some marginal VFR, Norton Sound through the Strait, and mostly off just affecting the eastern Arctic coast, and all this stuff remaining out to sea. For Anaktuvik, VFR tomorrow, Adigan, same forecast with rainy looking good, and all the Alaska Range passes are open tomorrow, all VFR, including Isabel and Mentasta, as well as Lake Clark and Merrill. And for Tanita, VFR, Portage, VFR, Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, again, not much variation, 8 to 10,000 feet here across the interior. Also out into the Bering Sea, as well as the Panhandle. Moving on to icing, mixed icing here above about 9,000 feet in the shaded areas over the southeast interior, up to the north, maybe the southern portion of the eastern Brooks Range. And looking at the jet stream, we've got this north to northwest jet sailing down to the southeast there at about 40, increasing to 70 to 90 knots. And then this low here approaching the eastern Aleutians, not much of a jet with that at all. So very weak flow at this elevation, especially over the panhandle of the mainland. 8,000 or 9,000 feet, high pressure right over the Pribilofs, west-southwest becoming northwest, 15 to 25. Pretty brisk here coming across Kodiak Island and much lighter out to the west there. And that weak low there could kick it up to 25 knots south of Adak. And 3,000 feet, much the same pattern, high pressure over the Pribilofs, northwest at about, say 15 to, or 20 to 25 to 30 knots here across Kodiak Island, the Barrens, Kamishak Bay. Lighter, more variable for the Aleutians, light winds to the panhandle. Could be some westerlies at 20 to 25 there through the north central interior. And for turbulence, occasional light to isolated moderate chop here, Kodiak Island, especially on the lee side of things. Same thing for the Aleutian Range and much of the southwest interior. And then some moderate chop possible, light to very isolated moderate, St. Lawrence Island through the Straits, especially Cape Lisburne and Point Hope, and possibly for Adak and Atka. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
Northeast winds to 65.
When lifting loads, the weight of the load is centered at the top of the boom, significantly raising the center of gravity. This can act like a large lever and result in capsizing. Do not bring loads fully on deck unless you know that they can be safely landed and your equipment can handle the load.
In my opinion, the primary cause of the instability in this case was that we were fishing for herring and prepared to fish and catch herring, but we weren't equipped the way we should have been. What happened after the set was made and there was a large bag or net full of fish alongside the boat and ready to start transferring the herring into the hold of the boat, the method used was braille. And the size of this set and the time duration of that operation led to herring dying in the net, adding weight to the bottom of the net. The bag of net is right alongside the boat, and that caused increasing weight at the time, caused the boat to roll.
Keep the load as close to the center line of the vessel as possible, and keep the lifted load from swinging. Be conservative when lifting loads in rough seas or when the vessel's stability has been compromised, and get product and gear low as soon as possible. Loads should always be secure.
We've had that thing on the side of the boat before, but this felt a little more severe, especially when I know that the bow of the skiff was still centered. It was just the stern that was on the corner. There was a possibility we had some things in the hatch. I know we had a net, possibly a few 100 pounds of something down there and tumbled over to the port or the starboard side also. And now it's there. Of course it's crappy out. We don't want to pull the tarp and the hatch off, of which exposing an open hole in big weather to go down and see if there's something that needs moving. It was dangerous out there without, I mean, I was in a float suit and all, but it was dangerous to do all this stuff. I ended up coming in and telling the guys I can't move it. There was a decision that could have been made. We could have gotten rid of it, shuttled it, get it off the deck. Hindsight now, yeah, get rid of it. It wasn't my $40,000 skiff to be launching. It was the captain's.
A load that shifts rapidly changes the center of gravity. At sea, power blocks, skiffs, fishing gear, booms, and rigging should be kept secure at all times. Secure gear before you think you need to. Over time, vessels change equipment and get altered for other fisheries. Whenever making major changes, consult with a naval architect to ensure that you are not making changes your vessel was not designed to handle. Weight creep can also develop gradually with small additions over time. It's a good idea to keep a log of the additions you make over time. The log should be reviewed periodically by a naval architect to reassess stability. And every 6 to 12 months, get rid of extra gear or equipment no longer needed. Beware of altering vessels for fisheries they were not designed for without consulting a naval architect.
Once they reach this magical 2% weight change, and it doesn't have to be an even exchange, it's just 2% overall weight change of the vessel, they really should have their stability reevaluated.
Fishing gear can get hung up on the bottom and cause the vessel to capsize.
Will you take precautions for a hanging up situation?
Keep knives handy to cut away gear. And when appropriate, use rigging that will break away before a capsize. Try to stay clear of large kelp patches which can catch stabilizers or birds and cause a vessel to heel and downflood. Another reason to keep doors and hatches secure. For vessels that cannot use breakaway gear, have a means to rapidly release winch brakes or clutches, or be able to cut cables.
You would have winches where you could control the tension, and above a certain level, the winches would automatically release the cable and allow the boat to move.
The seamanship of the helmsman is of vital importance in heavy weather. Especially if stability is being compromised, make sure your most experienced person is at the helm. A good helmsman can anticipate and respond to seas more effectively than an autopilot. In heavy seas, slow down to reduce damage to windows and reduce icing if present. Beware of following seas. They may be more comfortable, but they are more challenging for stability. Rough following seas can result in broaching and capsizing and should concern anyone at the helm. Quartering seas are even more hazardous.
Trying to keep our stern into the swells was causing us to get a little more and more off course. And I realized that we were going to need to drive, in order to stay the course, we were going to have to drive a little more starboard, which was going to present us a little more broadside to the weather, which I knew was dangerous.
If seas are extreme, keep the vessel's bow into or quartering into the seas to minimize water on deck and vessel motion. The use of a sea anchor is an excellent way to keep the bow into seas if you lose propulsion or steering. Secure doors and hatches to prevent flooding. Anticipate worsening weather and make efforts to improve stability before weather strikes.
There's quite a few things that I learned at that time. First and foremost, it says storm warning. Stay at port, don't go. It's not worth it.
Secure gear in anticipation of heavy seas. Avoid pumping from full tanks to empty tanks, which will increase free surface effect, or moving loads to correct a list without knowing the cause. This has resulted in many capsizings. Put your most experienced helmsman on the wheel in heavy weather. When acquiring a new vessel, ask to have your stability guidelines explained by a naval architect.
Basically the same trim in the boat that you started out with.
Be sure to review these guidelines, and when entering a new fishery or substantially modifying your vessel, have your guidelines updated. Capsizing is one of the consequences of poor operations that can affect stability. The 9 areas of operational stability include: always load your vessel within the stability guidelines of your vessel. Avoid having loose fluids or loose fish on your vessel that can quickly change your center of gravity. Keep water out of your vessel by the use of properly maintained and closed watertight doors, hatches, and bulkheads. Avoid weather that can produce icing conditions, and when you can't, work at preventing icing from building up. When lifting a load, keep it as close to the center line as possible and keep it from swinging. Make sure that loads cannot shift with strong bin boards and well-secured gear. Log the additional weight of gear and alterations and consult with naval architects about their effects on stability. In case gear hangs up, be sure to have a way to quickly cut gear free or release winches. Heavy seas present an increasingly dynamic challenge to your vessel's stability. Finally, even a vessel with updated stability guidance will only be as safe as how it is operated by the crew. Ensure that all crew members understand these procedures and follow them. The lives of the crew and the welfare of their families depend on it.
It's a constant dynamic force with stability. Their center of gravity is constantly changing as they add fish, burn fuel, use water, and the weights are shifting fore and aft. They have constant changes in the way the vessel rides.
Trying to keep a safe boat, it should be pretty easy if you've been on the water a while, but you get careless and you just don't think about some things. It is serious though when you get out there to see how bad Mother Nature wants to stir the pot. You better hope that you're at the top of your game with your safety and how your vessel operates.
Welcome back. Look at the marine forecast on the inside waters. Southeasterlies 10 to 15 knots, more southerly there for Lynn Canal, but not all that strong. Got southeast 20 here for the south coast, 7-foot seas, turning northeast to light northerlies up to the north. And then for Tuesday, light northwest winds become northerly, and then those easterlies only at 15, seas 5 to 6 feet. And pretty light winds here over the inside waters, south to southeast or variable. Quite light, slight seas, no change for northern Lynn Canal. Kodiak Island, or for actually Kamishak Bay, while it's still in my mind, gale warnings out there for tonight. Those fall back to 25 knots tomorrow. Seas up to 9 feet. 25 knots out of the northwest for the Barents, 10-foot seas, about the same down the east side of Kodiak Island. Westerly small craft advisories for Shelikof Strait. Cook Inlet northwest 10 to 15 knots, and Prince William Sound variable to southwest at 10. Pretty light winds here for the North Gulf Coast with 4-foot seas. And then looking ahead to Tuesday, again, light winds, Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, light variable conditions for the Barents, Kamishak Bay, as well as Shelikof Strait. These winds really laying down from what they'll be tonight and tomorrow. And just west 15 is about it there for the North Gulf Coast. And Bristol Bay tomorrow is northwest 20, picks up to 25 knots, Castle Cape to Sitkinak, and for the peninsula, northwesterlies 15 with 4 to 5 foot seas. And the outlook for Tuesday, northwest 15 for Bristol Bay. Then we've got northerlies, Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev, northwest 15 on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Seas not too bad at 4 to 5 feet. And then for eastern Aleutians for tomorrow, northeasterlies 15 to maybe 20 knots, 3 to 7 foot seas. Small craft advisories due to that storm just to the south there, here's on the southern side of the central Aleutians with 7-foot seas, lighter to the north, west, northwest 15 on out to the west. And then for Tuesday, westerlies 15 knots become north to northwest here around Adak and Atka, 4 to 5 foot seas. And the Fox Islands north to northeast at 15 to 20 with 4 to 6 foot seas. Southwest coast, westerlies at 10 knots north of Nunivak Island, northwest at 15 to the south. Light variable winds under high pressure for the Pribilof. Southwest 15 for St. Matthew Island, actually right on up into the Bering Strait. And then for Tuesday, pretty light southwest breezes here, St. Lawrence Island down into the northern Bering. Light variable winds continue for the Pribilofs. Light northwest here for the coast, 10 to 15 with 3 foot seas. And then for the eastern Arctic coast, for tomorrow, the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline there, northwest 5 to 10, south 10 knots there for the central coast, picking up to 20 knots here on the west side, and that extends all the way down to Wales with 4 to 6 foot seas. Looking ahead to Tuesday for these areas, 15 to 20 knots out of the south here from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, 4 to 5 foot seas, lightening up but still southerly there from or here on the west side, and then kind of light and variable to westerly at 10 for the central coast. Southerlies 5 to 15 knots there for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline over to Demarcation Point. And for tonight again, clouds, chance of rain here, especially along the coast of Prince of Wales Island. Some of that sliding in Dixon Entrance may come far enough north to possibly catch Ketchikan, Annette, Metlakatla. Otherwise, variable clouds dry up to the north there, diminishing thunderstorms and showers, although persisting back here with that trough over the central interior down to the Alaska Range, and hit and miss here for south central Alaska, a little more extensive Copper River Basin, also up here to the north slope on out to the Arctic coast, but staying fair over the western interior. And for tomorrow, again, more in the way of showers and thunderstorms, especially over the Copper River Basin into south central Alaska, and then pretty nice conditions, sunshine, Kodiak Island, right up the west side there to Barrow, and scattered showers to the Panhandle, mostly cloudy skies. And then for Tuesday, a lot of low clouds, fog, and drizzle out here, maybe some scattered showers dropping into the central Aleutians. Upper level low, pretty good showers, Kodiak Island up the west side of the Alaska Peninsula. Showers and thunderstorms again, Copper River Basin and the Alaska Range. For the Panhandle.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.